For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show. To get into this Monday episode, we are going to talk about our recent trip down under to Australia, and I have Jack here with me to help explain what the heck it is that we did.
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking through this, I don't know how much we can talk about. We can talk about most everything.
Everything's under approval.
Everything's under review right now, which is a shame. It's not a shame. It's
when
just
you visit
reality.
6 mines, what was it, 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah, that comes with the territory.
1 coal mine, New South Wales.
Yep.
3, 4 mines? No, 3 in Queensland.
Yeah.
And then Rio Tinto out in WA, so 5 total.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but we wanted to basically just walk everybody through the recent trip because it was quite the adventure, to say the least.
Yeah.
And so we started off for people that don't know Australia, we were in Melbourne, which is the state of Victoria, which is basically the southeast corner of Australia. So we're on the eastern side, which is closest to the United States. We flew into Melbourne. You guys spent a few days there.
Yep.
You murdered a kangaroo with the car.
I did not murder a kangaroo.
Oh,
I did not.
Still under investigation.
He was totally fine and hopped right back into the woods.
Yeah, Jack hit a kangaroo with the car.
On the second day of the trip.
Which is as Australia. See that, but that's what I tell people is like when I first went to Australia, one of the things is like there must be kangaroos everywhere. And you go out there and there really are kangaroos everywhere.
They're the carbon copy of deer for Australia.
But I think they're even more plentiful than deer though.
Yeah. It depends on where you are, kind of like around here. But like the amount that are dead on the side of the road, just like deer, they come out the most during dawn and dusk, just like deer. So it's like they're everywhere.
People eat them.
Yeah, and it's just funny because before going over there, and this was my first time over in Australia. Like I obviously knew there was kangaroo there, and I knew that they hop around, but like for some reason it didn't like fully compute that they only hop. So like even if they need to move like 2 feet forward, they hop. Whereas like I guess in my head I was picturing kind of like bunnies and rabbits where like they hop, but like they still kind of like
scoot around,
take a couple steps here and there. But no. Kangaroos are straight hop, only hopping.
No, it's like it's like a cartoon animal.
And it's funny.
Am I watching a real life cartoon?
Yeah, and like their I guess what would be considered their quads or like whatever, those leg muscles are always just so massive because they're just being used 24/7.
Their tail is just like a straight piece of muscle.
Yeah,
because they use the little tail to push themselves around too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're wild.
So we started the trip in Melbourne, first morning, Monday morning, with Jimmy Starbuck of Starbuck Excavation and hauling. He digs holes, he moves dirt, and so we saw 2 of Jimmy's holes.
yeah, precisely 2. Yeah. No, only 2.
Yeah. We had a coffee, let his folks get started up. The first job was a very fancy house that was worth tens of millions of dollars, getting gutted, renovated, and part of the renovation was a new garage underground, basically basement garage under the entire backyard.
Yeah.
So they were digging out the entirety of the backyard to build a ramp down into it with a garage and game room.
Didn't he said like, yeah, did he say underground pool? Or am I just imagining
He
that?
said underground entertainment venue.
Yeah. So it could be
whatever the hell that means. And then they were going to basically put a lid on top of it and then build the yard on top of the garage.
Yeah.
Because why not?
If you got the money, why not?
Why not? So Jimmy, they drill around the foundation, pour concrete to retain the earth. And then Jimmy's guys come in, they dig the hole, they grade it, and then someone else actually builds the basement. They just make the hole happen, and then they put the dirt in trucks, and the trucks haul the dirt to ideally other job sites around town.
Yeah.
And then we went to a second basement dig, much bigger basement dig that he'd been working on for many months, almost done. It was for an apartment complex. Melbourne land is at a premium. So if you build an apartment complex on a piece of property, you have to have a certain amount of parking spaces to get your permit. And the only place for those parking spaces is below ground. And so most every building now built in Melbourne has a basement, which is a large part of Jimmy's business.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. Do you remember they had, I didn't see any there, but they had guard dog signs?
Yeah, they did have guard dog signs.
Which is funny.
I don't know if those are probably signs, though, that they just put up.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. You know, people put signs up at their house that you look at it, you're like, nah, that's bullshit. I think it was one of those.
Yeah, that was funny, though. Just dingoes.
Yeah, guard dingoes.
Guard dingoes.
Guard dingoes.
But yeah, that was cool. And then, I don't know, they, remember we got the clip of the guy falling into the...
You need to cut that, and I need to send that to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Just for fun. I wouldn't put it on the internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, this poor guy, they were drilling concrete piers to bid. So at the bottom of the basement, they're drilling concrete piers because the area is really wet and the ground's terrible. And so they drill down with an auger, and then as they pull the auger out, they pour concrete.
Yeah.
As the auger is retreating, so that the hole doesn't collapse in on itself. And they put a concrete cage in after they do that, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Because there wasn't any when he fell in the hole, and so they pull it out, and you essentially have this like 20 or 30-foot hole. Just full of concrete.
Just wet concrete.
Yeah, wet concrete with dirt all around it because they just drilled it. And this guy was walking over to his machine and just damn near disappeared into the concrete.
That would have been really bad. It was he was walking over and he was walking over to his buddy who was standing on the track of the excavator, the drill. And as he's walking over, his buddy goes, "Oi, mate!"
Yeah.
And then he falls like just up to his waist in concrete,
like in a half second.
Yeah,
just,
like a water puddle.
Yeah,
and and I got it on film. I got it on camera, and it was funny. It was luckily the dude was wearing long pants because that's the other thing in Australia. They have all of these crazy safety, like not really crazy, but I would say they're definitely more buttoned down on safety than the U.S. And so they've got a lot of safety rules, but you'll see guys at least in civil, they'll just be wearing like short shorts, like running shorts with work boots and like their long sleeve shirts. And
but they're short shorts, but they're like canvas short shorts.
Yeah. So like working shorts.
Yeah, they're like working short shorts.
Yeah.
And then they have a high-vis shirt on.
Yeah. With the mullet and everything.
With a mullet.
The full look. Yeah.
With a mullet, with pit vipers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The full. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm honestly kind of jealous that they can wear short shorts. If you wear short shorts on a job site in the United States. Even if it were
told to go home.
Legal. You wouldn't have any friends.
Yeah. But see, like, and then, but we wear short sleeves all the time.
Yeah, but you have to wear long sleeves out there.
Long sleeves there. Well, and like in my opinion, if I had to pick one, I feel like having long pants is probably a little bit better over long sleeve shirt.
It makes a lot more sense. But it's so hot out there. It's like, yeah, that's why we wear shorts, because it's hot. It's like, yeah. So then why do you require everybody to wear the long sleeves?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're not even breathable shirts that they wear there.
Yeah,
like this is a fishing shirt here. They don't even, it's like canvas shirts.
Yeah, they're like legit. Like,
so hot.
Like basically like they're the shirts, they're the material like equivalent to here what a what like a full on like diesel mechanic would wear.
Yeah.
Like not like a onesie, but like those like thicker like canvas like mechanic shirts.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
they're not
hefty
designed to
fabric.
be breathable. They're
No.
designed to like absorb grease and
No.
protect you from stuff. But yeah, no, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. And so that it pretty quick first day, and then we got
Yeah.
on the road. We had like a 5 or 6 hour drive up to
Narrandera.
So we left Victoria, went to New South Wales, the next Australian state we visited, and we went up there to see MC Earthmoving, working on the Roach's Surge Reservoir. I called it a dam before and was criticized for that. Basically what it is they are taking a field, or as the Australians say, a paddock, and transforming it into water storage. And instead of digging a big hole, they're basically building a earthen wall all the way around the piece of land, so that they can then take a really big hose and fill it with water like a bowl.
Yep.
And then
Pretty
the
much.
farmers, as of right now in that area, it takes them about a week to get water. But now with that water right there, they can essentially have it on demand, which is far more water efficient.
Yeah, and farming efficient.
And farming efficient
as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
It went from 7 days to 1.
Yeah, almost.
Having to wait
Almost
7 days,
immediately.
and now just pretty much same day. Yeah, that's crazy. That's huge. And like going out to that job site in person, you're like, yeah, okay, I can definitely see why water is a high commodity out here, because it's not like in the outback, but like, and that's the other thing I learned in Australia is, they weren't kidding when they say that like 80% or whatever of the population lives in the cities, because once you get out of the cities, like it is
nothing.
rural land, just fields and farmland. So
yeah, comparatively, like the United States is not that rural.
No, if you take like the space of the continent and then the amount of people that live there, it's totally different.
Yeah,
because it's like,
but even like, I don't know, we drove across the United States last summer.
Yeah.
There's kind of people everywhere. There's kind of stuff going on everywhere. Like there's more
I'd say like
areas.
like the only in that whole trip,
West Texas.
Yeah, the only trip where it was like, yeah, okay, we're in the middle of absolutely nowhere was probably West Texas.
Yeah.
Coming up into going up into Colorado.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it's kind of like, you have like your rural areas, but there's still like spare farmhouse every little bit.
No, but out there, there's like nothing.
Yeah, and I forgot who we were talking to, but like they were saying like it's casual. Oh, it was at Forest Track. Like they were saying like it's casual to have like 50,000 acres.
Yes.
Of land.
Yeah. Yeah, like a 50,000 acre
ranch, basically.
Ranch is not that
crazy. Big of a deal. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? 50,000 acres? Like that's the size of like some counties.
Yeah.
Over here.
Or like Rhode Island.
Yeah, seriously. Like I don't even know how big like, the actual number, but that is a lot of land to have to own for yourself.
So yeah, the reservoir was pretty cool. They were almost done when we were out there. The last finishing touches. They've been out there for over a year, and we last visited them this time last year. So it was really cool to see the progress, because it was totally different. And it's amazing. You can somewhat visualize things, but once you actually see it, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And so just even like with the drone going above it, the drone shots are so helpful, because it's like, oh yeah, this is really just a gigantic bowl that they just built.
Pretty much, with a little bit of extra engineering.
Yes. Yeah. Plenty of engineering, but to me it's...
But it's like, there's plenty of engineering, but it's also like, it kind of boils down to, it's pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
The way it's set up.
Yeah.
Like with the embankment and the face rock and, like basic knowledge of how water works, and that water erodes everything it touches. So like once you get that taken care of and your reservoir, not dam, doesn't leak, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You just got to figure out how to get the water out of it. That's probably the hardest part, to be honest.
I think too, I feel like they call dams different things in Australia. Like they refer to as a dam as like a pond.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, so Australians, they'll say, oh, you have a dam, and it'll be a pond. You're like, that's a pond. No, it's a dam. So I think...
So what are they called, dams?
I don't know. Maybe dams too? But I feel like they call a pond a dam because you have to dam up water to make a pond. I still haven't figured that one out yet. Cultural
Because
differences.
I get the difference between a reservoir and a dam.
Yes.
Like reservoir.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely got it.
I get
now.
it. I got it.
You
I get it.
definitely-
So that was MC, which was that was a great morning.
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
a really
good
fun time.
sunrise,
Yeah.
which we didn't get for probably the next week
It sucks.
after that.
Yeah,
but
that was probably the biggest bummer of the trip. Was just the lack of sun.
if that's the biggest bummer, that means things went pretty well.
Yeah, at least it wasn't raining and we couldn't.
Yeah.
We stopping us from doing stuff. So that was MC, and then from there we drove from Yanko, Leeton up to Mudgee.
Yep.
And we saw National Group working at a coal mine. I'm gonna refrain from the coal mine name because I'm not sure what the approval looks like there yet. But it was a coal mine. This is a region famous for wine and coal, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mudgee was quite a nice little town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was going to be more so like Queensland, a little more grungy.
It was very similar for Nashville folks listening. It was very similar to Franklin. Tennessee.
Yeah, it was like this cute little town.
Yeah, with lots of wineries.
Yeah, tons of wineries. And so we stayed there. We went up to the mine. Our target wasn't the actual mine itself. It was National Group's 9800 Liebherr excavator.
Yeah.
Loading
the big boy
Liebherr 282 trucks, which are 400-ton trucks.
Yeah.
Which was
I forgot they had the trucks too.
Yeah, they had the trucks
that was
too.
A rare moment.
Yeah, so it was my first time, one, seeing Liebherr trucks like that at scale, and then two, seeing a Liebherr excavator loading a 800-ton Liebherr excavator loading 400-ton Liebherr trucks with sand, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The material itself was neat as well.
Yeah.
So they were stripping ahead of the coal mining operations.
Yep.
They were National Group. They have plant for hire is what they call it, rental mining equipment. And then they have a mining division where they operate that mining equipment as well. So it was their equipment and their folks stripping ahead of the coal mining operations.
Yeah, we were at the coal mine and we didn't film any coal mining.
Nope. No, which was fine.
Which was fine because we got to sit there all pretty much from the 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. and but film a 9800 and take our time and get as many shots as we wanted. Yeah,
and there isn't a single one in North America. And
those machines are just absolutely incredible. It's
and I think
mind-boggling.
Every 9800 excavator is in Australia, so you have to go to Australia to see this machine.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah,
I think
obviously the thing on those that impressed me the most is obviously like the sheer size is impressive, but just like the hydraulic system on those machines is insane. It's just
and just how much fluid is going through that machine every minute.
Yeah, at a time.
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Nuts. I think he said like 10,000 liters a minute.
Yeah. When you take all the different things that are going on.
Yeah. So we got to tour the machine, get up in the cab. We had all kinds of fun with that. That was a really nice time, and that's going to make for a damn good video.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one. Got some really good pictures.
Yeah, great visit with National Group. And then from Mudgee, we drove to West Sydney, where we spent the night in a hotel that was way too fancy for what we needed.
Yeah, it was giving me some Middle East throwbacks.
Yeah,
I was like, man, dude, like it was nice when we were staying like this in the Middle East every night.
I know. No dates in the lobby. But
no dates in the lobby.
We visited a tunnel project.
Yep.
I can't go into too much detail on this one.
Yeah.
This is the one I'm very unsure about. I would love to talk about it, but I just don't know if I can.
It's a tunnel.
It's a tunnel.
City.
It's in Sydney. It's maybe to connect like the city to the new airport.
It's underground.
It's underground. Yeah. There's not going to be cars through it. There might be like a metro setup. There might be digging it with a tunnel boring machine, assuming, they're tunneling in the typical methodology. And maybe we got to see it all, which was pretty cool. So we got to go under Sydney for a little bit. And then that afternoon we wrapped up about lunch. We drove then up to Newcastle.
Yep.
Or Newey, as the Australians say.
They put Y on the end of a lot of things.
They put Y on everything. To see our friends at West Track.
Yep.
That afternoon was really like bonus content.
Yeah.
Just touring the yard.
Yep.
And then we stayed in Newcastle that night. And then the next day we spent a full day at West Track.
And that was good. It was a great day.
That was a really, really good day.
Shout out to our guide, Chris.
Yeah,
did an
Chris
amazing job.
Really hooked it up.
Yeah.
So the warehouse was insane because of all those little robots.
That's right.
Yeah.
They have those. Yeah.
Which that boggled my mind. The shops were massive. The build pads, there was new equipment everywhere.
Yeah.
Went into the rebuild facility, went through 2 practice fire alarms.
Back to back.
Literally
back to back. To the point where like our guide was like, no way. Like, is that real? He's like, hold on 1 second. Just don't move. He's like, there's no way that's real. Because we literally just walked back into the building after the first one. And then like we look around and we're like, everyone else is walking back out. And we're like, oh my. He's like, ugh, come on. I guess we got to do it one more time.
Well, and this is probably the biggest cat facility I've ever been to in my life. I mean, there's well over 1,000 people that work here.
Yeah.
And it's 24 hours a day, this place.
Yeah.
Oh,
that place is open 24?
Yeah.
I didn't know
they
that.
run 2 shifts.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's...
And then highlight of that day was for me running the remote control 320 excavator.
Yes. That was really cool.
Yeah. It was very cool.
That's some crazy technology they've got.
It's crazy. Yeah. And they have they have a piece of property out behind the dealer. They have a 320 excavator back there, and then they have a remote operator station within the dealership. And so they said it's a few hundred meters away, but technically that I could run it from here. Like if we had one of those here, I could connect to that 320 out in Australia, in Newcastle right now, and run that machine from anywhere with a good enough internet connection. And we went through the technology from A to Z. And I am really excited about that video because people get so fired up about this stuff. So fired up.
Good and bad way.
You're stealing people's jobs. It's like, are you blind? There's somebody still running the machine. And it's not. It's not for your everyday subdivision footing. This is...
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like it's like people on the internet seem to think that like they're going to wake up one morning and they're going to get a call from their boss saying, sorry, man, we replaced the entire workforce with robots.
Yes.
So good luck.
Yeah.
Like that's not really how it works. It's not, you just don't buy a autonomous machine and then you fire 5 people. That's not how it works at all.
It's not even autonomous.
Yeah.
It's remote control.
Well, yeah, those aren't even, those remote control. So like, and like when you implement a remote control or even an autonomous machine, it takes someone out of the physical cab, but someone's still operating it, and then it opens up other jobs because you have like a person who's specialized in the technology behind the remote control stuff. So they're like doing preventative maintenance or like the autonomous, like there's people that are in charge of keeping up with the autonomous vehicles and making sure they're running. So it's like new jobs are opening where even though there's not someone sitting in the operator seat.
Yes. Yeah. And it just, I get it, but I don't at all because it's like, okay, you're running a machine with hydraulics. Yeah. Hydraulics haven't existed forever.
Yeah.
Everything used to be cables. So what I don't see you running a cable machine. You're just fine using hydraulics. Like, well, that was an innovation. Like that was a different way to do things. And here you are, taking advantage of that. So anyway, we built out a whole video talking about answering all these questions and addressing how the whole thing works. They let me run it, which was very cool. And it'll probably be one of the most comprehensive videos on this subject anywhere.
Yeah.
So that was sick. And then that was Friday. So then Friday afternoon, we drove from Newcastle down to Canberra, which is the Australian Capital Territory, technically the 3rd state of Australia we visited this trip.
Yeah, basically DC.
Basically Washington, D.C. of Australia. And everybody up until this point was talking shit about Canberra. Whenever I'd say we're going to Canberra, they're like, oof.
Which is pretty similar to here if they say you're going to D.C.
Yeah, but I was expecting it to be like Detroit. And I show up, and it's beautiful. It's
it was
gorgeous.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
And then I realized, it's just the politicians that I think everybody is referring to when they say it's terrible.
I mean, like DC is like if you get rid of all the really shitty parts of DC, it's a pretty area.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. DC's legit. But yeah,
I just like the museums in DC. That's all I care about.
Yeah, mall,
Smithsonian and stuff. But yeah, Canberra was awesome. That was with the Forest Track guys.
Yep. So we saw Forest Track. We went out to their facility first thing Saturday morning.
Yep.
They cooked us breakfast. We got to see their shop. We got to see 2 brand new D9s.
Right next to what was that? An old
right
D8?
Next to a no, it was a Caterpillar 20.
The bigger one.
Oh.
Remember the big one? The bigger one?
Yeah.
That was a D8, wasn't it?
I don't know. That might have been.
Maybe a D6.
Maybe.
But yeah.
I need to. I'm not.
And then the classic.
I'm not an expert on the old stuff.
And then the classic Caterpillar 20, which is surprisingly pretty common.
It is, but I've only seen them like sitting in the front of an office or sitting in like a showroom or something like that. I don't think I've ever seen one running, and then I've never seen one next to a latest and greatest Caterpillar dozer, Caterpillar tractor.
That was pretty cool.
Which was super cool. Yeah. So we got to see that, and then we waited a little bit for the helicopter to pick us up. Yes, helicopter. They have they get around via helicopter because their sites are so spread out. So it's like a pickup truck. They almost need it. They do need it.
A nice. Do you remember what kind it was?
It was a Eurocopter.
Yeah,
it was pretty nice.
With the kangaroo leather.
Kangaroo leather. Yeah.
What did he say? He's like, we put kangaroo leather on the handles because we're
wankers.
He's giving us like a little rundown of the helicopter, like or a walk around.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I wish I could do a better Australian accent because it's so much funnier. But he's just like, we put kangaroo leather on the handles because we're just wankers. I'm like, fair enough, man. I mean, if you're going to go all the way out.
Good for you.
Ball all the way out.
Yeah, I would if I were you. And so we took off from the airport in Canberra, flew over what's essentially like
the White House.
The Capitol.
In the Capitol.
Yeah. And like the Capitol.
Which like I didn't even realize that at first. And then you mentioned it. You're like, oh yeah, we couldn't do this in America. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like you can't fly anywhere in DC.
No,
we're just like
fly a helicopter over the Capitol
500
building.
feet above the Capitol building.
Yeah, we're just flying over like the Parliament building in
taking
Australia.
Pictures.
Yeah. So
that was super cool.
That was super cool. And then we went out, I think it was like west of town, roughly like northwest of town into the snowy mountains.
Yeah, which are pretty equivalent to like our Appalachian Mountains.
Similar, in scale, like I'd the Appalachians. Yeah, not
Rockies.
Yeah, no Canadian Rockies, but it was pretty, and it's wooded.
Beautiful.
It's like when you think Australia, you think like the outback or the Pilbara, which we'll get to. But yeah, it's just beautiful mountains.
East Coast was super green.
Yeah, and Forest Track was up there. The first job we went to was where some of the land had burned years ago. The big fires that was global news in Australia.
Yeah.
And so they, after everything burns, it sits for a while, and then Forest Track has to go through with dozers and excavators, basically pile everything up, get rid of that debris, and then rip it and prepare it for replanting with pine.
Yep. In summary, that's what they do.
Yes.
But it's a lot cooler than that.
It's way cooler because the machines that they're using are crazy.
Yeah.
It was the first time I've seen like a forestry excavator at work, like brand new forestry excavator.
Yeah.
With, inch thick Lexan windows.
Oh, it was like 2 inches thick.
Yeah.
It was some thick Lexan windows.
Serious stuff.
And
all this armoring and the whole machine was custom built for just this application and sitting on a slope that I would easily roll off of.
Yeah. Like we show up, we get there, and the excavator was doing work on the side of the hill. I look at Aaron, I'm like, is that thing like tied off? He's like, no. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Crazy.
Like,
well, it was so steep that when the operator, he was walking the machine back up the slope to get to us.
Yeah.
he was having to use the bucket to pull himself up the slope. That's
Yeah.
how steep the slope was.
Yeah.
And then when you get in the machine, there's a 5-point harness
Yeah.
on the seat.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So if you flip, you're just
in an
for
excavator.
Yeah. But to be fair, like that cab is so beefed up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think.
And it has an escape hatch on the ceiling too.
Yeah.
So we saw that excavator. We had a nice picnic.
Yep.
And then we saw one of their D8s ripping.
Yeah.
With 2 shanks. They rip a certain spacing.
It's like 3 meters. I think.
Yeah, I think roughly 3 meters.
Yeah.
And then that where they rip is where they'll eventually put the little pine trees. And then the pine trees will sit there for a few decades and grow big and strong.
Yeah. It was.
We saw some kangaroos.
Yeah, that was our first big kangaroo spotting of the trip. And then, but yeah, those dozers, so they had so when we were there, they were using D8s. And yeah, it just reminded me of a little bit of a dumbed down killdozer.
Yeah,
Just
or
like-
maybe like a much better killdozer because
Yeah.
it's actually engineered.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah.
But I was referring to when it comes to armor plating.
Yes.
It didn't have 4-inch thick steel, 4-inch thick steel. But no, yeah, it had the big tree pusher on the front, and then it had the extra guarding on like where the engine and the ventilation was. And
Yeah, they have, I mean, there's secondary engine panels that are probably 3 times thicker than the factory engine panels that go over the factory engine panels.
and they're like actually made and engineered where they don't look like they're like not supposed to be there.
It looks really good. Yeah.
Like if you wouldn't have told me anything, I probably wouldn't have noticed that it had those on there.
Well, and this is, it's a waste machine. So they buy their dozers 8s and 9s waste spec, which is like
Okay.
the gnarliest version of dozer you can
Yeah.
buy from the factory.
Yeah.
There's nothing more abusive than landfill applications for a dozer. And so it's already really beefed up. And then they take it into their shop for months and fit all of this other guarding onto it, which is just, it's a lot of extra weight.
Mm-hmm.
So cool to see the ripping. And then we took the helicopter back to Canberra.
Yep.
Flew around a little bit, did some sightseeing. Saw a project that's, a little controversial in that part of the world. And then, flew to us, back to the airport, got in cars, and then went to the second project of the day, technically, which was them cleaning up after a piece of land had been logged out in the ACT, Australian Capital Territory. The first site was technically in New South Wales, but this was actually in the ACT, and they can't burn the limbs and bark and debris from the logging process.
Yeah.
So they have a roller chopper that they pull behind one of these armored D8s. That's almost, I believe he said it's 18 tons. And it's this gigantic steel drum lined with cutting edges.
Yeah.
And the tractor just pulls that through the entire piece of land like a lawnmower.
Yeah.
And it chops up all the branches and then mixes it all into the soil simultaneously to restore the land. And then they rip it and plant it once again.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. That's another example of like an attachment or a method, whatever you'd like to call it. That's like just dead simple. Like, all right, we need to figure out a way to get all of these down sticks and limbs, chop them up and mix them into the soil. How should we do that? What if we just build a giant steel roller,
giant drum,
and put cutting edges on it and just pull it behind a dozer? That might work.
That's exactly what it is.
What it was.
Yeah. So that was cool. I've always wanted to see Australian forestry.
I love forestry stuff, man. That was my second. That was my second forestry job. We visited one in Oregon on the road trip last year, and yeah, the equipment they use for the forestry stuff is really cool.
Yeah.
Just and beefed up.
For people that don't know, too, that forestry trees grow back.
Yes.
And so they plant them and they harvest them like corn.
Just like any other plant.
Yeah, just like anything else that lives, it's a renewable resource. So if you're upset about trees getting cut down, stop using toilet paper. Stop living in houses. stop ordering anything from the internet.
And tell Chipotle to stop using paper straws.
yeah, never eat at Chipotle ever again.
I want my plastic straws back.
Um,
A quick side note. That was the other thing. There's not a single place in Australia where you can find a plastic straw.
Yes.
Or plastic silverware.
Yeah, plastic spoon.
They kept giving me wooden spoons.
And they're and the first time you use it, it's just like gritty. Like you're rubbing your tongue on a piece of fucking like on a stick. You're like, this doesn't.
Oh, dude, like
this is not cool.
On the way over there on the plane, they gave me like a meal, and then like they gave me the utensils, and they're these wooden utensils, and I got the fork, and I'm sitting there trying to cut. It was like a piece of beef or something with this wooden fork, and I'm like, oh my god. And just give me a plastic fork, please.
I just, yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, but if you don't like logging, then stop using paper.
Yeah. So that was really spectacular. And then Sunday we flew from Canberra to Brisbane to Mackay, and then drove from Mackay to a camp.
Dude, it's crazy you can remember all this.
In Capella, I believe. Capabella. Something along those lines. Outside of
about
Moramba.
Pembroke?
Yeah, but the camp.
The camp.
So we stayed at this camp. The camp, pretty baller. Like the food situation.
Yeah, this camp. Dude, I got a vendetta against this camp.
Yeah. So food situation though,
great.
A+.
Great.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Amenities, great.
Amenities, great. Like the gym was awesome.
Basketball court.
Basketball court, tennis court, lap pool. The rooms were really nice.
Yeah.
No problem.
Zero problems.
Until you try to use the internet.
No, actually, there's no internet.
Exactly.
There's actually no internet.
Yes. Yeah, there's no internet to use.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty obviously remote.
And we didn't have cell service. So you called the office and asked if they have internet, and they're just like, no.
Yeah, they acted like I was like an idiot. Like no, we don't have internet. Like, are you stupid? And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like don't like people live here for weeks at a time, and like you don't have internet. And like I didn't ask her that, but she was like, yeah, most people just use their cell. And I'm like, okay, but like I think there was also like you said, like there's a bandwidth issue.
Yes.
Like when you go to a concert or a football game, and and like even though it says you have cell service, there's so many people in this one area that it doesn't load anything.
Yeah. So that was a struggle.
So that was
a struggle.
Yeah.
But that was one of the biggest problems we had of the trip. So
yeah, and it wasn't really that big of a deal. It just
No.
The second night me and TJ were trying to do a site induction. And we're like walking around the camp, like trying to find a cell reception. And it was just like, I tried for like an hour and it just didn't work. And then the funny thing is like the mine itself, they put up their own 5G tower at the mine for all the trucks and everything. So
the mine had great
you
service.
go to the mine,
Phenomenal.
you can download a 4K movie.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing the site induction at the mine the next morning.
Yeah. So next morning we get up, we go out to the mine, and we're visiting Pembroke Resources Olive Downs complex. This is a greenfield steelmaking coal mine located in Queensland, about 2 hours from Mackay. Brand new. So we first went out to this mine last year in May, and they had not started mining yet. They were just developing the mine. So everything was under construction. And we went out with Tees, who is the mine contractor, basically doing all of the mining activities, to see their autonomous trucks getting tested. So they had like a calibration pad, and they were testing their trucks, but they hadn't put a shovel in the ground yet from a actual legitimate mine standpoint. Then we come back this time, and the first day we're actually visiting with Pembroke, who owns the place, which was sweet because I have never had that good of access to a mine ever before. Ever before.
It was Barry, right?
Yes, with Barry, who is the CEO of the company, and then Tom, project manager of the whole operation.
Tom was great.
It was a very, very, very cool morning for me because that was access that I had never had before and will not have for a very long time.
It was really cool to
again.
kind of like, we kind of sat in the conference room for like 15, 20 minutes before and kind of just talked. And it was really cool to hear like Barry's mindset.
Yeah.
And like how it's a lot different than.
Because they started producing coal this year, I believe it was. Maybe like end of last year. I think they started shipping beginning of this year.
Yeah.
he started the company 10 years ago.
Yeah. It takes a long time.
So it's taken a decade to produce a single ton of coal.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And this is steel making coal. You can't make steel without carbon. You
Yep.
can't make new steel, virgin steel, without carbon. Carbon equals coal. So this is you need iron ore and coal. You need a bunch of other ingredients for good steel, depending on what steel you're making. But those are the 2 core ingredients.
Yeah.
Doesn't work without it.
And it took them 10 years.
10 years. 10 years. So that day we got to see, I think, the operation more holistically.
Mm-hmm.
We saw the mine. We got into the mine a little bit.
Yep.
But I wanted to see some of the other stuff. So we got to check out the plant. We saw the D11s pushing on the stockpile, which was
massive blades.
Super cool.
Yeah.
We saw a train getting loaded.
Yep.
Which was neat. And then I think maybe the highlight of the day was the koala wellness check.
That was pretty impressive. I was expecting, because like it was on like our little itinerary, it said like koalas, and so I was kind of expecting like we would show up, they would have like a few I don't want to say cages, because they're not cages, maybe like in habitats.
Yeah.
Because where they, ones that are kind of like not feeling good or sick or need some attention. So I figured we see a few of those, get up, this is what we do, blah, blah, blah. But no, we walk up and we go in and they just happen to be, oh yeah, we're doing a koala ultrasound right now.
Yeah, well, no. They had the koala like in a kennel.
Yeah.
And they'd caught the koala that morning. So it's not a zoo. These are all live animals.
And they all have little trackers on them.
Yeah, and so the mine is a very, very, very small fraction of the total land that Pembroke has.
Oh yeah, it's tiny.
The amount of land they have is massive. Yep. If you look at it on a map, you look at the mine, you're like, wow, this is a big hole. But it is a tiny little corner of this whole operation. So they have these researchers and these biologists. Their whole job is just to track the koalas.
And the little flying squirrel guys.
And the gliders.
Yeah.
Gliders. Within the boundary of their land. So that's all they do. And so they have trackers on all the koalas, so you can see where all the koalas are. And then they can go out and regularly capture these koalas. Not often, but every so often throughout the year.
Do a wellness check on them.
Capture them and then collect all this data on it. So we walk in, they have a koala that they had caught that morning. And the video of them catching it was wild. I didn't know they were that fast. I mean, they're just
these guys move, man.
They move. Yeah.
And they make funny noises.
Yeah.
I can't think.
But then once you have it and you just turn it over, they said.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, he's like, yeah, they're a real pain in the ass to catch, but once you catch them, you flip them on their back and then you kind of go turtle mode. and the video he was showing us, they catch it and he walks it over. It's like scrambling around, like screaming, making noises, and then he flips it on his back. And it just freezes. It's like, oh shit, you got me.
So then we walk in, and all the people are like, "You guys ready?" And we're like, "Yeah, we weren't really sure what was going to go on." And then they put the koala to sleep. And they only have so much time.
Yeah.
And then they put the koala on the table. Then they start doing all the checks. Like they do the ultrasound, they check its heartbeat. They're, swab its mouth for this, or check it for this or that or whatever. And they're collecting. Barry basically said it will be some of the most comprehensive koala research in the entire world.
Yeah,
which is remarkable. And I think there's a lot of mines out there. They're just doing this kind of stuff to check the box, and then making a big deal out of it.
They were doing a lot more than checking the box.
Yeah, like no, we're doing our part.
We have our reservation.
Yeah, we're good. Like that was what was so impressive about this. It was all so. You can just like being there and listening to these people and seeing what they're doing. It's all so genuine and so in depth, and none of this they really have to do.
Yeah, and that leads on to kind of where Barry was talking about like how like he wanted this mine to be like, even though he might think might be one of the last of those types of mines of that size, he was saying like, I want this to be like what a mine would be like in 2024.
Yeah. Yes.
Where you don't just check off the boxes, like we actually like have a entire, I don't even remember how big it was, but it's a huge area for the reserve.
Yeah.
Where they like
It'll
actually
never be touched. They just manage it.
They just managed it. They do research. They keep track of all and I think the reason, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason they focus on the koalas and the gliders, there are obviously tons of other animals, but they focus on the koalas and the gliders most because those are like the most endangered.
They are endangered.
They are actually straight up endangered.
So they have kangaroos, emus.
Yeah, they've got tons of them, but that's why
we saw dingoes out there.
Yeah, that's why they focus on those. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, no, that was a very impressive operation.
It was
going on there.
Yeah, and then we went back to the camp with no internet. And then one more night, and then went back to Olive Downs Complex that next day, but with Teese this time, who is again the mine contractor doing the mining. So they're the ones with the trucks and the excavators, and they're moving the dirt, loading the coal, doing the mining. And then all of this land too will be reclaimed as they move across. So we got to spend the morning there with Teese, and it was awesome because we got to go totally in depth on autonomous trucks and technology, which I was such a big fan. I've seen an autonomous mine once, and it was a different system, and it was really good, but it was almost like it was a tease because it's like, oh yeah, here's the trucks, here's kind of how it works, but I can't actually show you the operation center.
Yeah,
I can't actually show you the screen. You can't film any of this. It's like, we can't pull back the curtain. Yeah. So there's stuff happening back there, but you can't see back there.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like
full on
everything we wanted to see.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely incredible. Like that was my first time seeing fully autonomous haul trucks, and still, like, even though we spent a full day and there were a couple other mine sites we went to throughout the trip that had them, I still could not get over the fact that it is a truck the size of a house just driving around with no driver in it.
Yeah, they're
and it's so accurate.
Cat like 394s, 794s. We'll have to probably do a whole episode on the autonomous stuff.
Yeah,
because there's so much stuff I want to get into. But yeah, they had 25, 26 Cat 794s over 300-ton trucks. They're all just driving around 24 hours a day.
Just doing their thing.
The
robots
just robots doing robot stuff. Yeah. And you almost forget that they're robots until they drive by you and you're like, that's like, you have to keep reminding yourself that there's nobody in any of these trucks.
Driving that.
No. So they had 2 Liebherr 9800s, 2 Liebherr 9600s, and then 1 9400.
Yes.
With 26 trucks. 2 autonomous drills.
Was it just 2?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
They had a third that they were getting ready to deploy.
That's right.
And then 24 graders, D10, D11 dozers.
Where did all the graders are manned? I think they're right.
Yeah. So all of the dozers, the graders, the excavators, the water carts, everything is manned.
So just the drills and haul trucks.
Drills, haul trucks, are autonomous there. So that was cool. Saw a blast. Saw how the technology works from A to Z.
Yeah.
They could not have been more chill and open to whatever we wanted.
Yeah, that was awesome. I could definitely easily sit here and talk for an hour on just the autonomous stuff.
Easy. Yeah, and I'll have to do a whole episode on that.
It was really cool. Just seeing, because they have all got the screens and all the light vehicles and everyone's communicating, and the system, like for a system that's so complicated, from what we saw when we were there, it was just pretty much working flawlessly. Like everything was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's constantly optimizing itself.
Yeah, and like we could really briefly go into we were watching an excavator. I think it was one of the 94s or 9600s loading a truck, and loads the truck pulls away. Big boulder falls out the back, and we got to see a live view of what the system does when there's a giant golf cart sized boulder in the middle of the path. So it immediately recognized it, immediately pulls up. The guy's showing us on his screen, and then he radios in hey, we need a dozer over here. We got a rock and whatever in the middle of the way. Dozer's over there within 2 minutes, and then the control then flips to the dozer operator. He moves it, clears it, gets out of the way, and then the dozer operator now clicks a button, says, "Okay, path is cleared." Trucks immediately resume.
Yeah.
Like, it was just,
Yeah, it has like LiDAR on the front, so it's just basically creating a 3D model of what's in front of the truck at all times.
Yeah.
So just sees a rock and picks up that rock, and we were just watching it on the screen. How like the truck was right in front of us. I mean, we could throw a rock and hit the damn truck.
Yeah.
It's right in front of us, and then we have this screen that we're looking at, and you can see the area like lockout, obstacle on the screen, and all of this happening in real time. We're listening to the radio communication between the dozer operator, the digger operator, and then the command center. The whole thing was it was just flawless.
Yeah.
Just flawless.
It's absolutely insane.
So that was cool. And then the second half of that day, we went to another mine, Lake Vermont, with Teese as well. We saw all kinds of stuff there, and I hate that it's so casual, but more 9800s, more 9600s. But what we were really there for was their dozer push operation, because it's a semi-autonomous dozer push operation.
Yep.
So they can control a bunch of D11s in the same cut with 1 to 2 people from a central command center 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Which was pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So they basically...
They got all 5 of them down there.
Yeah. And he said they've run like 15 of them in the same cut at this mine before. But when we were there, they had 5 of them. So we go into this office. It's like this dark room. And there's a command station, 2 right next to each other, 2 guys, 1 in each. And one guy has 2 dozers. The other guy has 3 dozers. And they're basically like babysitting the dozers, because
pretty much
the dozers can do a better job in the autonomous mode, because they're constantly
especially
measuring
with pushes.
Yeah.
They're just going back and forth.
Because all this isn't building the 18th hole at a new golf course.
Yeah, or like a building pad. Like, you're just pushing shit.
It's just you're just slot dozing.
Yeah.
Just repeatedly slot dozing. So you're pushing in a slot, and then you back up, exact same path, and then you push down that slot again. And so it'll take it down a few meters, and then it'll sit there and wait, and then the human will take over. It'll say, "Yep, this is the path," and so then they'll drive the path remotely. Okay, that's what I want you to do, and then the dozer just keeps going. So then, and one of them has to go to the bathroom. I'll probably get more into this too. If one of the guys has to go to the bathroom, then the other guy, you can just give him his dozers.
Yeah.
So then you can have 5 dozers.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back, he can switch all 5 of his dozers to the other guy. The whole thing was spectacular.
Yeah. No. Yeah. That was really cool. Application of that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that was cool. And then from there, we drove from Lake Vermont to Blackwater. Then the next day, we were with McKellar, another mine contractor. And I guess what had happened was McKellar went to Coronado, the mining company, at Curragh, the mine we were going to go visit. And they said, "Hey, can these guys come out?" And then Coronado was like, not only can they come out, but can they just like look at everything we have?
Yeah.
And so we were planning to just, and I say just in quotes, shoot McKellar's 9600 600-ton excavator with their trucks. But then Coronado was like, "No, we want you to just look at everything."
Yeah.
So we look at their plant first thing in the morning, beautiful sunrise, 994 loading belly dump trucks with coal.
Yeah. Big bucket shovel there too.
A reclaimer.
The reclaimer.
Yeah, like a bucket wheel reclaimer. Then we go down to the 9600 and see that loading some trucks. TJ goes up in the cab. Then we go over to their brand new Komatsu PC 7000 700-ton excavator loading trucks, which was very cool. And then we capped off the day, or at least that morning, with their drag line, which was a 2570 Marion.
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
But
I get my drag lines mixed up.
Well, they all look so similar.
Yeah, it was big. It was a really big drag line.
Yeah.
It was in rock.
Yeah.
And then they had a system on it that they really wanted to show off that.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
If you walk up to the drag line, get too close within the swing radius.
While it's swinging.
Yeah, while it's working.
While it's swinging.
So you walk towards the machine while it's swinging. It recognizes, there's a human being, and it just cuts off the machine.
Yeah, but you have to get within like
You have to get pretty close.
8 feet of it.
Yeah.
which when he was explaining it, I figured like, okay, you probably get like within 50, 75 feet of the machine. It probably shuts down. No. You have to get like up on this thing.
Pretty close. Yeah, but when you approach it from the side, nothing can hit you. And so that's the point of it. It's you have to get close enough where you
can get hit.
Yeah, and in this machine, it's the size of a warehouse. And so the operator can't see anything going on other than what's directly in front of them. So that was a really, really cool deal.
And that was pretty unique for Australia. Dragline, in general.
Yeah. So I'm glad I got to see a dragline.
They had a rope shovel there too.
Rope shovel. Yeah, they had everything there. That was a cool operation. Huge. And then after that, we went to McKellar's shop. They had all kinds of stuff going on there. And then from there, we went to where they load out coal. They had 3 D11s or maybe D10s.
Yeah.
Maybe 10s.
Yeah. That was a good little session.
Yeah, with coal blades pushing into a hopper, which then feeds rail cars a load out. And then the rail cars then take that to the coast, goes onto ships. Ships go abroad.
Yeah.
So that was our Queensland experience, the 4th state of the trip. And then that Thursday, we first thing in the morning, get on a flight from Mackay to Brisbane to Perth. So we go all the way across Australia to Western Australia now. And then we fly from Perth to Rio Tinto's Gudai-Darri mine out in the Pilbara, which I've always wanted to see.
The Pilbara. Land of the flies.
And so we have 3 flights. That was a long day. 3 flights.
9 hours worth of flying.
Yeah, just flying. So 12, 13 hours, 14 hours of travel.
And Brisbane to Perth is like the equivalent of going from like Boston to LA.
Yeah, it's
a
big country.
It's pretty far.
So we fly into the mine. So they charter these aircraft. All the mining companies charter different commercial aircraft to fly to the mines.
Yeah, no private jet, unfortunately.
No private jet, but it basically was a private jet because there were
the first couple flights,
7 people on this flight.
Not even.
Yeah. So it's a 37,
and
37.
Then we get our tickets, and they put all 3 of us next to each other.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, dude, like, I got to sit next to you. I guess the whole plane's empty.
So you fly into the mine, and so you get to this airport, quote unquote, but this airstrip just services the Gudai-Darri mine, Rio Tinto.
I mean, it's all that's out there.
And we walk out, and everybody before was like, watch out, the flies are bad. And I was like, yeah, I've been around flies before. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It was insane.
It was bad.
How many flies? Like within 5 minutes, we're off the plane, and you walk off the plane just downstairs onto
tarmac.
Yeah, tarmac. Yeah. There's nothing else there, and there are just like hundreds of flies on us.
Yeah, and it's weird because like when you first get, at least I remember when we first got off, like you look around, it looks totally normal. They're like invisible.
Yeah, and
then when you stand still, it was bad. And like, I don't have a fly phobia.
But TJ does.
Apparently TJ does. Or he found out that he had a phobia. I wish he was here right now to talk about it, but
he had a bad time.
My guy was not enjoying his his time. Even I obviously like flies are flies. They're annoying, and like I was trying my best to like be a team player and not like freak out about it. But like it was bad, man.
Well, because they're like trying to get in your mouth and in your ears, and I had my glasses on, so they're going in between my eyeballs.
The thing that drove me crazy is when the buzzing, when they're constantly flying by your ears and shit
nonstop,
and trying to get in your nose and mouth and
So we got assaulted by flies, the Pilbara flies. We got the full benefit, full experience.
We showed up at like peak fly hour.
Yeah. And
because they go away after the sun goes down.
Yeah, it wasn't bad in the evening.
Yeah.
So we get attacked. We go check in. That camp was baller.
Yep.
That was even nicer.
Even nicer.
Gorgeous.
They had a
gorgeous,
like a super nice pool or like soccer field, rugby field.
The food was
Food was great.
Unbelievable. Everything. Like you can get a steak cooked on demand.
They had their own like pub, like sports bar.
Yeah. And so we ate, we got changed, and then we went out to the pit that night. I was hoping to get sunset. We didn't get sunset, and it was just kind of dark out there. So it was helpful because we got to get a lot of questions answered. So I'm glad we went out, but we didn't really get anything that night.
No, not really. But it was really cool to kind of get out there, and like it's hard to get your bearings when everything is dark.
Yeah, you have no idea where you are
in a mine pit. Yeah. Everything looks the same.
Yeah,
but
so we then got some sleep. Started that morning in the shop.
Yep.
This new mine is brand new, so everything's beautiful. Shop was gorgeous. Got to see one of their 994 loaders, D11. Their autonomous water carts, which are the first in the world.
Oh, yeah, they've got those here.
Pretty sweet. And then we went out into the pit.
Yep.
And that's when it started to get cool. So we were in the Pilbara with Rio Tinto, and it was an iron ore mine. It is the biggest deposit of iron ore in the world, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think Australia is the number one iron ore exporter in the world. Number one iron ore producer in the world. And then I think second is Brazil.
Yeah.
So it's millions of tons of iron ore every single day coming out of this region, with these massive operations. And Rio Tinto is like one of the kings of the iron ore range.
Yeah.
And so everybody's there to mine iron ore. It's fly in, fly out. So these people fly in 1 week at a time. You work for a week straight, then you fly home for a week, and then you have like 4 or 5 weeks leave. So you're technically working 5 months a year, which is pretty good gig.
Yeah.
The whole operation, Cat 6060 excavators, 994 loaders, and then 793 autonomous trucks.
Yep.
Which was very cool because it was all just this bright orange red earth that they're loading in all these trucks.
And what did he say the strip ratio was? It's like non-existent.
They have to strip very little. I mean, the whole place is just straight iron.
Yeah,
and I was picking up the rocks,
picking them up.
Yeah, you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's basically metal. I have a piece on my desk. I mean, it is super dense, super heavy, and it straight up looks like metal.
Yeah,
straight up. So seeing the operation was cool. I got to set off the blast, which was very cool.
And press the button.
Super neat. And that'll be a really cool shot with me pressing the button, and then the blast is right there.
Yeah, that was a good blast too.
It was a good blast. And then we got to see the processing, so the downstream. So we basically toured this whole operation from start to finish. There wasn't a part of it that we didn't see.
Yeah.
It was quick. Like we didn't have a lot of time. I could have spent a week out there easily.
Yeah.
I would have loved to just hang out at that camp a little bit more without the flies.
Yeah, without the flies. Yeah.
But TJ was happier the second day because he paid somebody $50 for their fly net around his head.
Yeah. He was willing to do anything.
Yep.
I still have that clip on my phone. I put on my story of the night we got there when we were waiting for our guy to come pick us up to go out to the pit. TJ's standing there. He's got fly net on, safety glasses, hard hat, gloves. He was fully prepared. He was not ready for the flies. And then we got back that night after the pit, and he texted me. He's like, "Dude, my room is infested with ants." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm sorry, mine's not." like you're just getting really bullshitted right now when it comes to bugs.
I slept great. I
slept good that night too.
Yeah, got to work out in the gym.
Yeah, and then the next morning we got some free fly nets. For free.
Yeah, free fly nets, yeah. So then we flew that night. We flew back to Perth.
Yep.
Spent a night in Perth. And then the next day, when I talked to Rio Tinto initially, I wanted to just go see a mine in the Pilbara. I've always wanted to see a mine in Western Australia. Yeah. But they were also like, well, do you want to see our rail and port operations as well? Like they just offered it up. And I'm like,
yeah.
Never
seen that before.
Sign me up. So then the next day we fly from Perth to Karatha, which is like, Perth is basically southwest corner of Australia. Mm-hmm. Karatha is kind of northwest corner.
Yeah, it's like
up towards
2 hour
Indonesia.
2 hour, 20-minute flight.
Yeah, a few hours up there. Bright blue water. We go out first to Rio Tinto's rail operations, and this was just like a blur. all morning because we saw so much. So
Yeah, that was really quick.
So fast.
We toured that whole facility in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, and we saw a lot in that facility, but we saw their flash butt welding, how they put pieces of rail together, because Rio Tinto doesn't just own and operate the mines. They own and operate the entire rail network. So all the rail, all the locomotives, all the cars, and then the port operation, it's from start to finish, Rio Tinto, which is crazy.
Insane.
So they have like 13,000 rail cars. They had 220 locomotives. They have thousands of kilometers of rail to build and maintain. So we got to see the locomotive workshop, which the first time I'd ever been in something like that. First time I'd seen that flash butt welding. First time I had a locomotive ride. Yes. I've never been in a big diesel locomotive before.
That was bucket list right there.
That was
6-year-old me was just
punching the air.
Yeah, that was really cool. And it's funny, like those big, massive trains, like really at the end of the day have like 3 controls.
Yes. Yeah.
Forward, stop, horn.
Yeah. And they're the locomotives run autonomously as well.
Yes.
So
and they have a cow detector.
That
works as best as it can, because you can only slow down a fully loaded 200 car train so much.
Like 20-something thousand tons of iron ore.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how much it is. Maybe 10,000, 13,000.
She was telling me about it, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, so does this thing like detect them like a mile in advance? Because like it takes at least a mile to stop this thing.
Well, and Western Australia is just different. It's just out there. And they have these cattle stations. I mean, it is that's what you think. When you think Australia, Western Australia is
much more
stereotypical.
Yeah, for sure.
So saw the rail operations, and then we went to the port operations where they turn the rail cars over, dump out the iron ore for every rail car.
Literally physically turn them.
Yes, literally just spin the rail cars over, but keep them attached. They all have the couplers that rotate, so they can just grab 2 at a time. Spin them over, dump it, put them back, and then send them down the rail, grab the next 2, spin them over. Then they stack up all the iron ore, and they have different grades. And then they have these giant reclaimers that sit there and scoop it all up and mix it as they're loading a ship. There's 2 places that they can load, 4 ship loaders total.
Yeah.
And we went out to the longer one, so it's 3.5 kilometers out into the Indian Ocean. So we're above the Indian Ocean.
It's literally like almost like a 10-minute drive to the end of this.
So there's a conveyor all the way out.
Yeah.
And then there's this giant machine that just sits there and spits it out into the cargo holds of each one of these ships, about 180,000 tons at a time into each ship. So they ship about 1 million tons every year out of this place. And then the craziest part was the ocean is beautiful.
Yeah, it's the first time seeing the Indian Ocean.
So some of the prettiest ocean I've ever seen in my life. And he was just like, dude, you should see when the humpback whales come through here. They're everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere. And then
that would be crazy.
He was like, yeah, when the divers, they have to do some maintenance work on down below sometimes, and we're like, are they afraid of the sharks? I'm like, no, it's not the sharks, it's the groupers. He's like, there's groupers down there that can just swallow you whole. I'm like,
yeah, those fish are huge.
Damn, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. We were all, when we got back to Perth, we were all orange.
Yeah.
For 2 days.
Yeah.
Oh, everything was orange.
Yeah. The dust out there is a whole nother level.
It doesn't. It
doesn't come off.
It doesn't come off.
Yeah. Because when we were at the mine. The day before, I remember we walked into their shop in the morning, and all their trucks are like brown.
Yeah.
Like it literally looks like they painted their trucks
the color of the earth.
The color of the earth, because it's so like evenly and like thickly spread on there. You can't even see the yellow paint.
No. And the crazy thing was all the trucks have bright blue bodies.
Yeah.
Which was, so it's not yellow. It's not close to orange.
Yeah.
They have bright blue bodies. There's no way.
Yeah.
0 chance you can tell at all. No.
And the dumpster they had of air filters.
Yeah. So that was Rio Tinto. Amazing visit. Then we spent a day in Perth. Perth was sick.
Hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to check out the beach.
Got to check out the beach.
Yep.
Put our feet in the Indian Ocean.
Yep.
And then I think at this point we were just toast after going nonstop for 2 weeks, 5 states in Australia.
Yeah.
And then Monday was the last visit. We did a operator challenge with WestTrack. So WestTrack is on the East Coast and the West Coast of Australia.
Yep.
So then WestTrack hosted us out in their WA locations. So in the morning, we did an operator challenge with who won the operator challenge in Western Australia. Jake, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Which was, I had quite a bit of fun that morning.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. We got to run some equipment. It'll be a fun video.
That was a good morning.
Super chill. And then we got to tour their facilities and see just 994 loaders, D11 dozers, 793s, drills, just equipment everywhere under construction. 60 excavators, nonstop. We got the VIP tour, but I think we were all just falling asleep because we at that point we're just cooked.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a combination of going for 2.5 weeks nonstop, and then you get that one day off, and you got to go back at it one more time. And it was also, for me, it was also like in the back of my head thinking about the trip home,
the travel next day.
And I'm like, oh my God, man, like this is gonna be like buckle in.
Yeah, because you did it. I did it a little differently. The trip home the next day. So WestTrack, but those WestTrack facilities, some of the best I've ever seen as well.
Both East and West Coast, phenomenal.
Completely insane.
Yeah.
So in WestTrack, they really hooked us up.
Got their operation dialed in.
Really hooked us up.
Oh yeah, and they were showing us their what was that little system where they can it wasn't autonomous, but they can watch like the productivity of the trucks, like how much they're idling at certain mine sites, their health.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
they can just
cool.
pull up the data on all the machines around Australia.
Yeah, it's like they can tell when people are like taking breaks.
Yep.
Because the truck's like idling.
Yep.
But no, that was cool too.
But then going home, you had to fly across Australia.
Yeah.
That wasn't as long of a flight going back across though. Mine was only just over 4 hours.
Yeah, it was like 4 hours, 20 minutes.
Yeah, so Perth, Sydney, and then Sydney.
For me, Sydney, Dallas.
17 probably? 16?
Right at 16.
16.
Yeah.
So not as bad as coming over.
By 1 hour.
Well, I feel like coming over was like 17, 20, or it was.
Yeah.
For me, it was.
I don't know. You pass a certain
probably
point.
the longest flight I've ever been on.
Past a certain point, and it's like, what's another hour?
Yeah, long is long. And then
be on this plane for already 10 hours too long anyway.
Yeah. And then Dallas to Nashville. I flew to Kansas City because I had to speak.
Yeah.
So that is the road trip.
Yeah.
2024.
That's it summed up in short terms, but
next big one will be good old Europe.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm putting together right now, and I am excited.
I'm looking another first for me.
It'll be a totally different ball game.
Yeah.
Totally different ball game. Instead of a different state every 2 days, we're going to be in a different country every 2 days.
Yeah. Granted, the countries are the size of most states.
Smaller than most states. Yeah. So that's that's
and I brought a boomerang home.
And you got a boomerang. Thank God.
I got a boomerang.
Thank God. And I got more rocks for my rock collection.
Yeah.
More pieces of coal.
Yeah. Made it through airport security.
Yep. Cool.
Oh yeah. And the last thing is their airport security is much more enjoyable.
Way more chill. You can bring water through.
Yeah, what a crazy concept.
It's like pre-check for everybody.
Yeah, and
doesn't suck.
And TJ's good luck, they don't check ID.
And they don't check ID. Yeah. The idiot forgot his ID one day.
That was the morning we were going out to the rail operations. It's like 4 a.m. on the way to the airport. We're pulling into the airport. TJ's like, no. Like, I'm like, what? And he's like, I forgot my wallet. And I wanted to because we're there to like do the vlog and stuff and get content. I wanted to like take a clip and be like, TJ, what'd you forget?
Next time.
But like I felt really bad. I'm like, because like I was just sitting there. I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah.
Like how?
Well, I was worried that they were gonna check. Because I still don't know really how the system works everywhere. I was worried they were gonna check for his ID in Karatha.
Yeah.
So I was worried that he was going to get stuck
Yeah,
out
that's
in the
what I
middle
was
of
worried
fucking
about
nowhere.
too.
Yeah.
And like I look up the so like he basically, I guess they did, because like he got boarding pass at the kiosk, and then they don't check your ID at the beginning of security. So he got on the plane fine, and then like we're walking out of security. I'm walking next to Aaron, and I'm like, dude, I just realized, what if he gets stuck in Karratha? And then you're like, oh shit.
I got a little nervous because I was like,
and I look on my phone, I'm like, oh, worst case scenario, how far is it? Look on my phone, just a 15-hour drive. Like, oh my god, and then luckily, like, and like it was a little nerve-wracking because when we were flying back, they did ask for it, and he had it on his phone, and they took it, and I'm like, oh my god, dude.
I was fully prepared to like have to fly
back to give him his wallet.
Give him his wallet.
Then,
I would have been so salty.
But like we go past security and Karratha on the way back, and I'm like, can you breathe now? And he's like, yeah, I can finally breathe. And I'm like, okay. Don't forget your wallet on the way to the airport.
No,
folks.
I think that's enough for today. Thanks to everybody for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Yep. See you next time.